Good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun. Been talking about the cost of living, and for now coming to 12 months. This program started in December last year, and this year we are continuing with the process. And this channel was created in 2012, but we started work on it last December, and we have been talking about the cost of living as a crisis, and we have been continuing. Now we are looking at the United Kingdom. Merry Christmas in 2023, and a Happy New Year next year, and I wish you all the best. And you made it so far, and we thank God for us Christians. Today marks the day of the birth of the Lord Jesus Christ, who has been born in Bethlehem. It's a celebration of his birthday, and you are warmly welcome to this channel. And if you haven't subscribe to this channel and let me know what you think. Click the notification bell, click like, and support the channel. Best way is subscribe. If you have subscribed, I'm so grateful. If you haven't subscribed, I'm so grateful that we met today. You are watching this video, and we'll be talking about the United Kingdom. What happens in the United Kingdom? The kind of help being given by the United Kingdom government. Visit the UK website .gov.uk. Actually, gov.uk. I think that is what the website is. Today we'll be talking about benefit. We're talking about income maximization. Watch this video with the rest of the video, the series on help in the UK, entitled help in the UK for cost of living crisis. If you watch this only, this is a continuation of the rest of the video. There are in the UK so many types of help, mainly money, known as benefit. The main one is universal credit, and if you go onto the government website and other website online, you will find universal credit, which is actually the main benefit, which we spoke about in the other videos, and how to claim it. And I will be going forward talking specifically about benefit and other elements of help. There are a vast amount of help being given, including housing, including healthcare. Employment also is a form of help, which actually account for income. If you want to maximize your income, which is a topic we are talking about now, maximization of income, which is actually the logic about this program is that if you have a problem, you solve it. It's in the human nature to do that. To get anything from the government, to get any benefit, you have to claim a benefit. If you don't claim it, you don't get it. So get help from the organization which provide help in the United Kingdom. If you watch the other video, actually we have given information there, but information like Citizen Advice, organizations such as Citizen Advice, and on all the other government website. And if you're not in the United Kingdom, this video is also important, because what happens in the United Kingdom happens across the globe, especially in Europe and America, but also in the other parts of the world. Because of this is actually possible because of globalization. The practicing capitalism, which is actually a source of wealth and income, and also a source of wealth generation. Capitalism is there to produce wealth. We have discussed this exhaustively, and we will continue to discuss them in other contexts going forward. So if you are not working, if you are unemployed, or you are on low income may mean you have a saving of £16,000 in the United Kingdom, then you can claim benefit of any sort, more or less. Some benefits are actually for sickness, some others are actually pension. Some benefits are for children, but they are all benefits. They're the same. They're just given different names. They're there for people on low income. In pension, if you work for a living in your life, when you retire, you reach a retirement age, you can claim pension. Every benefit, you have to know it is there, and if you know you're there, find out if you can get it. And if you find out you can get it, I've actually also discussed this in the other videos. There's something called benefit calculation. You go online, access a website entitled to find your entitlement, like the name suggests. It's called entitled to, and the other is actually turn to us. Turn to us is like TURN 2 number 2, and us is in US. Turn to us. It's one word. So because I'm not really doing thumbnail properly, so I will try and see if I can leave the link of this project. But if you go online, because most things are now online on the internet, you need to go online and try to find help, really, because you have to take responsibility. The government used to help more comprehensively, but if you watch the rest of the video, you will know why now the government is no longer very keen on helping people, because there is no money. There's no money because the government is not funding the public sector. As simple as that. There's no other reason, because Britain is a rich country. The world is a very wealthy place, except that the politics and also the behavior, human behavior, a lot of complexity, which are also discussed in the other videos. If you watch the other videos, you begin to understand why it is happening. But if you need more information, then leave a comment below. Ask specifically the kind of thing you might be interested for me to explain, and if needed, I can do a research and then explain it on a video. I'll do a video to explain something which you might be interested to know. Now, if you live in the UK, you pay bills. Maybe you want to buy food. If you go to the supermarket, you want food, you actually pay for it. That is also a form of bill. But bill specifically normally means, like I was trying to say, bill, when you say you're paying bill can mean many things, but normally when you pay things like rent, you're renting a property, you are paying for energy, you're paying for you're paying for your phone, you're paying for the internet, you're paying for food, you're paying for energy, food, water. All these are actually classed as bills. Council tax. You're paying anything you pay for, which is especially things which are necessary. Paying for clothing, for children, paying for children. Maybe if you have pets, also like cats and dogs, you also have to pay for them. There are benefits actually. The government pay benefit to cover for your pets also. If you smoke, they don't pay for that. Things, lifestyle, you don't pay, but the money they pay, you can use it freely for whatever you want. The only catch is that, like I said in the other videos, the help given anywhere, especially in the United Kingdom, the level of help is quite low. And I have really said the best thing for the government to do is actually to get the British people out of poverty. And the way to do that is to raise the level of benefit. Also, to raise the level of national minimum wage or national living wage if you work for a living. And there are things they look for in terms of eligibility. I said if you have saving, but also if you work, the universal credit. If you work and you are not paid, you're paid below a certain level, you can still claim it. So if you do a benefit calculation, you can actually go online and do this. If you specifically want to help somebody, you're watching this television, this video, you want to claim benefit, or you want to help somebody else, or you want to share information with somebody, leave a comment below and ask specifically. Then I will look for information and put it on the comment box and give links. I will always do that. It's easier for me to do that other than doing it on the video. I'm actually still working to create a proper template and also to manage to basically using these thumbnails. I really need to start doing that. Normally, people lose their jobs or they are actually on low income. Then you can claim benefit. And also, if your income has actually dropped, but you are still working, if you, for some reason, your income has dropped, I don't know how that would happen. Maybe the employer has actually terminated your employment and re-employed you on lower pay. Sometimes it's happening. If you've been for an employer for maybe 10 years or 20 years, because every year your salaries is increased. These days, employers can terminate your employment and re-employ me as re-employ you as a new employee so that they pay you less. Or maybe you're working less hours, maybe you are working part-time. Under those circumstances, your income will have dropped. Maybe income from benefit, maybe you are sick, you are actually being paid sickness benefit, but your condition has changed, your health condition has improved. The government will either stop paying you sickness benefit, so your benefit overall reduces. But also, when it comes to universal credit, when maybe sometimes if you get a pay increase, for example, then you have to, I'm talking about change of circumstance, but now they're looking at eligibility criteria. Because if your income maybe you're earning probably 2,000, for some reason maybe your income goes down, and then you think of claiming benefit. Because there are people who think if you're working, you're not supposed to get benefit. You can work full time and still get benefit, because you see, if the level of benefit is low, normally it is actually consistent with minimum wage. But sometimes, for some reason, because your hours, maybe you're working 16 hours, or maybe because maybe you're working actually 20 hours and then you reduce it to 16, 15 hours, then your earning actually goes down. I mean, if you try to apply for universal credit, which is a benefit, and it's rejected because the level of your income is high. If it goes down and you're working, you can actually do a benefit calculation online, or you can actually go straight to the DWP and talk to them and report a change of circumstances. You will have a journal, actually online journal, given to you. You can actually access it on your mobile phone or on your laptop or computer, or you can go straight drop into the office, or just if you can phone them, you can probably phone them. They are actually, if you go online, there are telephone universal credit and telephone numbers, which I can actually look for it online. If you need it for yourself or for somebody, a friend or a family, you want to support them, or you're just curious, you want to share that any information, I can get this kind of information and put it on the chat. Mainly, we'll be putting links or actually actual numbers of certain organizations or especially government department, because they are public information. They are publicly available by way of helping, because some people are actually not really necessarily able to access this information as easily as other people. Some people are more experienced working with computer, and that is part of the disadvantages, of benefit if you don't know how to use computer. But generally, this is also to remind people that I mean, there are courses online, which some of them are free, or you can actually, if you are low income, you can actually access them for free. You can actually register through via the local authorities or charities. Or just a case of getting the right information, doing research. So research skills is really important for ordinary people now, because there is the need for empowerment. You need to be empowered also, because the government is helping the way it used to help, but yes, the help is reducing because of funding. So, in as much as there are organizations, like Citizen Advice or other organizations, maybe government, DWP, Department for Work and Pension, is the advisors. But if you go into these institutions, or even Citizen Advice or any of the organization, you find that less and less they are actually, if you have to go to the office, you may not actually be allowed, because going to the office is becoming more and more expensive. A lot of things are now being done remotely, by phone, by text message, email, or web chats. These facilities are actually online. So your mode of thinking should now begin to, you need to be digitized. We'll talk about the cost of living. We'll also talk specifically now about the kind of life that help the government is giving in the United Kingdom. But this help is similar to Europe, America, and most of the developed world. In Africa, like I said in the other videos, in Africa, you need to go to your government, your MP, to find out why they might not be providing, because the likelihood that the kind of support given in the United Kingdom is not really given to Africa. So you need to find out why Africa is not getting it. African governments, why are they not giving benefits? Like even pension now, there's a possibility pensions are not being paid really. Well, some pension is being paid, but it's like insurance system. The system is actually significantly different from what you would find in the developed world. But nevertheless, wherever there is help, it doesn't matter how small it is, especially in terms of the cost of living crisis, in terms of help associated with COVID-19 and all those things. This is actually the kind of thing we are talking about if you watch the rest of the video. So, in terms of help, we are specifically talking about a benefit known as universal credit. Universal credit can also be given to you because you're sick. So, if you actually have a disability or illness which stops you from working, you can actually ask for universal credit. So, there's something called sickness element. There's a form called UC50. That's the form you use online to claim universal credit, and it's called the kind of support actually is known as limited capability for work-related activity, which is a mouthful. I struggle to pronounce it. It's actually limited capability for work-related activity. They are looking at it. They just assess you to see if you actually have a limited capability for work-related activity. Because there is something called work-related activity. Work with the kind of the activity which is relating to work. Activity related to work, because activity relating to work from the point of view of the DWP include things like training, preparing for work, writing CV, employability, participation in a certain DWP. I mean, if you are actually, if the assessment says that you can prepare for work, because the level of your sickness is not very, you're not sick enough to be left alone. So, because you are expected to go back to work, so you are actually required to do certain activity like training, maybe computer training, maybe employability, maybe training like customer service, or maybe business management, or any kind of training, maybe apprenticeship or whatever. because you're sick, but you're not that sick. So, and if you are actually limited capability for work, is you are how they describe your status limit for purpose of benefit, you are limited capability for work, then you don't get extra money. Normally, you don't get extra money. But I'm not clear when they will decide they can give you extra money. And you can be, if you're limited capability for work-related activity, which means you're limited for work-related activity, which is actually things like interview, which means you are not really required to do training to prepare for work and things like that. Well, that's what it means, really. They're really extremely complex and confusing, but that's why it's best to go to professionals who are trained to give advice. I am trained and I work as an advisor professionally, which means you can come to me if you want to. But if you come to me as via social media, then I will talk to you informally if you're interested. But I may, because giving advice is a very structured thing. Because I work via an organization, and if I am to give advice, but the way I understand systems, the best way to do that is actually, if I'm to give it legally in a formal way, to take also responsibility to make it actually formal, I need to register an advisory project. I also, if I need alliances, then I have to get alliances to practice, because this advice is actually very technical. You need to train. You need to actually work on the alliances program. This is what I think. So if I want to do it as a job, as maybe I set up an advisory system, then I have to register an organization with authorities. Something I'm actually planning to do maybe in the future, because if I can try to find out to do it online, like using other mediums, I don't know how I'm going to use that via social media, because social media, I can actually do some, question and answer sessions. People ask specific questions, then I answer them. That is if I'm, for example, if I'm doing a live show, a live stream, which I'm not really doing live stream at the moment. So going forward, I might be doing that. But right now, what I'm trying to do is actually explain it in a more practical way. Can go and read about it. If you complement it with this video and read, because what I'm trying to do with the video is paint a picture so that you are actually familiar with what is going on. If you go online, you read something, then you compare it with this video. The way I'm talking about this, I'm actually telling you the way it works in a more practical way based on my experience. For example, if I say the benefit, claim it, but it's challenging to claim it. That's my experience. It's not written there. It's not written on any material. But I'm just trying to tell you what I know from my experience, that because the government is now making it difficult for people to access benefit in the United Kingdom, because its political attitude is not to give help anymore. I've discussed this at length in the other videos, and this proposition applies across the globe, because support like this are actually provided by actually working in a country, working with the public sector. Public sector now, because of political ideology, is being shut down. Because like when you listen to the government talks about reform, political reform, or reforming any service. What they're saying, actually, they are privatizing the country. Because you see, there is an ideology which says now, with capitalism, which says the public sector is not good. The private sector is the choice of operation of running the country. And that's what is precisely. It may not sound as complicated as the government may make it sound, but there is nothing to prevent the government from providing public service, which is actually failing to provide. Apart from the ideology, the thought that this service should be shut down. The difficulty with the government is shy. The government is shy. It doesn't want to tell. It doesn't want to tell the people that it is shutting down the public sector. Governments don't talk like that because they don't want to make people worried. I don't want to make people worried, but I think the government has its role to play. But when the government speaks to you, the best thing is try to learn to listen how the government speaks. If you don't learn to listen to the government speaking, you will not know what they're talking about. Because they are trained to be diplomatic. They are trained to talk to you in a nice way. So even if they are actually giving a really bad report for society, for people who need help, because maybe they know or they don't. Because see, there is a thing the government put forward. I mean, the thinking of the government is that people should make sacrifices, which is what sometimes, I mean, if you want something, you have to really invest. You invest your time. You have to make sacrifices. But the situation is that there are, I mean, because of injustice, political or even social injustice, there are a group of people who are making sacrifices year on year. And you see, the majority of the population make sacrifices so that the economy grows. But as soon as the economy grows, the money is taken and given to a certain class of people. And there are people who keep sacrificing. So it's a form of corruption, which the government actually is managing. Well, working people are exploited to work, and the benefit of work is actually given to a certain class of people. And it's like, if you work for a living, you are not really regarded as being valuable. The only value attached to workers is that they generate wealth for the rich. The rich who own businesses. You work for them to create wealth for them. That's what the only thing is. Like you are not now seen as a human being. You're seen like a money-making machine. It's like you're treated the same way an employer treats a vehicle, a structure, a computer, an equipment, or a telephone, which is used to create wealth, to run a business. So the only thing they think about is money and wealth and how to manage their business, which is taking care of your business is good, but there has to be humanity to accompany economy. That's what I've been talking about. That's where the violence comes from. There should be a sense of humanity. People should be cared for. And you shouldn't pretend that you are caring for other people. Paying their salary is not enough. Especially if you don't pay enough. You pay them enough to keep them in poverty. People need to get out of poverty. So the level of payment for work should go up. Because people who cannot work, who are sick, who do not have any means of survival, if you don't give them benefit, they might die of hunger, they may die of drought, And thirst. They will die of thirst. They will die of element because they can't access housing. It is happening now. And the government is not asking the British people to go into public spaces like libraries, town halls, to stay there because they can't afford to pay for energy. They cannot run their home. They're poor. So the government is saying, if you're poor, go to. It's to make people understand it clearly. These are actually concentration camps, and because it could be a tent. The government, because there are now facilities to provide food and energy. It's called food bank. It's called also energy bank. These are actually things are located to people who are actually refugees, or people who are actually displaced, or people who are actually living under a crisis, who are actually destitute. For goodness sake, this is Britain. Why should the government create condition of destitution in the United Kingdom where people are treated like they are in war zones and they are supposed to go and live in concentration camp because they can no longer live in their homes. They're poor. They can't. If the message is, if you can't afford something, now go into concentration camp and stay there. Like, in fact, it's a form of prison. You see, you should be put in prison because you are poor. Basically, that's where it's heading. And if you can't pay your rent, don't go to the government to ask for money. Go and stay in a public facility. In my opinion, this is the same as sending people into prison. So the government is actually beginning a process of building concentration camps to put poor people there, which are actually forming the majority of the population, including the middle class. The middle class who think they are doing very well because they still have some money. They are able to borrow money. And how long? Where is the money? Because see, people do not even understand the concept of credit. And now, the banks are not giving credit because they have already changed the system. Banks no longer give money. But see, the government, instead of giving benefit, is now encouraging people to borrow money from the supermarket, from petrol station, because there is now a type of card which is actually a credit card, which actually I think the card is called. Basically, I've forgotten how the card is called. I think it's if you go to a shop, maybe you go to Boots, you go to places supermarket. There is a card which is like a voucher to give you this discount card. I think it's called discount card. Discount card. If you buy things, you got the credit. You got the credit on your card. It's a compliment. To say thank you. So to prove that you shop there. So the store are thanking you for being a good customer. Because you have been coming to spend money into their store. So they are giving you credit for that. So it's like saying thank you for shopping with us, and they give you a card. It's like, you can call it credit card if you want, but I think it's called, loyalty card or something like that. And usually is something which is like the shop actually doing it for promotional purposes. I really, because it's something which I don't even understand how valuable it is. And normally you think you're actually saving money. Maybe you're saving money, but you potentially you end up buying, because it's not really money. It's a discount card, and that's what it is. What I'm looking for, discount card. If you pay £10, you're probably discounted on the product by maybe 10 £1 or one. I mean, it's okay, but you're going to a grocery store to buy essential. You're not going to like buy so many things. And if you're tempted that because you're given discount, you should pay more money to buy maybe banana, maybe oranges, maybe some type of grocery. You end up actually spending the money you didn't plan. So all these are systems which actually, to me personally, I don't think they're there to help. I mean, the shops they don't help people, do they? They're just there to make money. The person to help people with, I mean, if they're supposed to be helped, then it should come from the government. Because the government is running the country. It's like taking responsibility. It took the country, it took Britain away from the British people to run it. And now they turn around and say they have sold off the country to private individuals. Now they're asking you to go and beg from these private individuals. These private individuals, if you actually go and start begging there, they might call the police and report you for being a nuisance. It is not really, it's like you're walking from door to door and begging on, like, beggars who beg on the street. You're homeless, you don't have a home, you're like an alien, a foreigner who is not being, who is just a survivor. I mean, somebody who is a destitute who can even be attacked, abused, or killed. People are being attacked, and even some people are being killed on the street because they're homeless, because of the negligence of the government. People have lost their homes. People cannot access food. They go and sleep on the street, even during winter, as I speak. People are being killed. They're being abused in different ways, children included. So this is what happens if the government refuses to help people. The message, actually, the messaging is just, swim or sink. You're on your own. So apparently, I mean, what actually frustrates me is that it doesn't even frustrate. I know why they probably won't speak openly the way maybe I'm trying to. But for me, because I think it's about time the government should really readjust the way it does its public relations. There has to be some element of straightforwardness with the public. Because I think there is too much public PR within the government to make people feel good when it's bordering on dishonesty. Because people need to know the truth. I mean, if people expect help from the government is saying they are helping. They say they want to help, but they are not helping. They don't actually want to help. Because although it is advertised, it is so almost impossible to claim benefit now. Because see, the way the benefit process is designed is no longer, it is actually evident that the government is just forcing itself. It's just like it's a necessary inconvenience, which is actually, government is actually being, I wish to say, is being dishonest. Because you see, at least they should tell the British people, there is no benefits. Now, what is left, we are trying to close it down. They cannot say that because they are the government. They don't want to. But I am saying it because I want people to know that although there is still help, this help now is residue, is what is left. The plan of the government is to close it down. The government is not going to close the entire benefit today and shut it down because they don't want to create social crisis, which is what people should know. Because you see, although you still see small and medium business, they are going to close down. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Although you still see the hospital is going to close down. Anything you see now, even public transport, train and buses are going to be shut down. Anything, including supermarket, is going to be shut down. So everything is being shut down. So I don't know when you will wake up one morning and you discover that everything is shut. The streets are actually quiet. Everything is gone. And if it is left, then it is guarded to be accessed by the few and not for the many. The many are actually, because you see, many people are now being excluded from society. It's like to say, um, the world is not enough for ordinary people, the majority of the population, maybe 95%. The world is not enough for you. We want now you to leave. Find your way, go find another planet and move to another planet. Because we, the super rich, we are a class of people. We are actually a class of people who are actually maybe 10% or even less. We are the only ones who are going to be living on Earth because the world is not enough for everyone. See, resources are not enough to go around because you see, we are trying to save humanity by eliminating 90% or 95% of the population. That is what is going to happen by shutting down the public sector, by selling the economy to the private company which shuts it down. Because these people have nothing to do with the economy unless the economy is going to make them money. The economy can no longer make them money because people no longer have money. If you work for a living, you are actually living in poverty. Poor people are not good for business. You see, because middle class who think they are not poor for some reason are actually poor because they're depending on credit cards and they have a job. What if they lose their jobs, which they will? They're going to lose their jobs to technology. Once they have lost their jobs to technology, what happens is that they are going to be poor and destitute. And people are, as I speak, are now dying because of negligence. Because they cannot access dentistry, they cannot access medical help. You know, they are actually, people are eating actually contaminated products like food. There's no care actually. It's like people are being given poison in food because these food are very unhealthy. It's killing people. If you have like heart condition, if you have kidney failure, and also the lifestyle, because you are a prisoner in your home, you can't go out because you don't have money. Because everything is money. If you are going to a town center, you need to have money to get into a bus. And if buses are so cold and they are running irregularly, you go in outside, actually you're already freezing in your home. And if you go out, you're going to freeze even to death. If you in winter, in summer it's actually too hot. I don't know what's happening with the environment either, because there's a lot of air pollution. The government should do things to clean it because the government is responsible. But the government at the same time saying, yes, we have taken away your country, but we don't want to take responsibility to look after you. They are looking after a certain class of people, a certain people, a group of people actually. If you are rich, then you're valued in a certain way. I'm not saying all the rich people are safe. No one is safe because we think rich people are actually valuable, or celebrities, people who are actually famous, because they're the one running the world. They are the ones who are actually valuable, who are supposed to remain alive, but they are going to die. last. The ordinary people will die first because violence kills. I've already tried to explain violence because it's a type of violence where people are not being violent. There is a lot of hatred in society. There is a lot of negligence. You see, we got our priority wrong as humanity. Less and less we care less and less about people. A lot of people think they are actually good people, and they are. But you see, if you resist your life, even you don't look after your life that well, because you think you are not valuable, because you don't have money, maybe you're homeless, you're on the street, you begin to lose your sense of value. You don't value your life. That's what I'm talking about by cultural failure. And if you leave a comment below, let me know. If you don't leave a comment below, that's okay. It's my intention to carry on trying to explain this situation in a way which people will begin to understand. So going back to this help being given, which is a look through the material, I also try to explain it in a way where people begin to understand the problem in a more integrated way. And I hope what I'm saying is going to help more than not. So the situation where you can claim universal credit, like I'm trying to say, if you actually have children and your children are actually incurring costs. Remember, this is about the cost of living as a crisis. We're talking about the cost of living crisis. So when you incur costs, then the government can help you. And also, you need to be eligible for help. And eligible relates to whether the government thinks you need help or not. Whether you need help or not depends on these factors. Generally, what they're looking at, if you are on low income for one reason or another, you incur low income situation when you have children and you are actually caring for this, something called child care costs. If you care for a child, then it costs you money, or it costs, normally when they talk about is money. Sometimes your time also, they pay benefit to cover what it costs you time. And also, sometimes if you are caring for someone else, if you're caring for somebody else, you might get a benefit called child care, which is now probably part of the universal credit. Because you see, they put child care here, or caring for somebody. Because, if they give you care as allowance, for example, they're going to reduce your universal credit. So it's like almost a waste of time. No, people actually don't like care as allowance as a form of benefit because it affects their universal credit, which is complete nonsense. You give help with one hand and you take help away from. First, you're creating more work for advisors, which cost the public money, by creating these complications that's why sometimes I think these people are actually living in a world which is really very strange. Because if you see the way the law works, I think these people are now, some of them probably are insane, because see, the complexity produced by the benefit system is, it means, people, the way people think is really involve some element of, it's like they're drunk, or they're actually on drugs. Something like that. So like I said, if you look for information online and you don't understand, most likely you will understand, but also you might not understand. I try to get help from advisors, government advisors, charitable advisors. There are so many charities. I've listed some of them on the other videos. If you want to know more, you can leave a comment below and let me know. Then I will start living in information people ask for on the chat box for the moment, or in some other way going forward. So some of the criteria, like I said, you need to be 18 years old or over to get universal credit. And or in some cases, if you are 16 or 17, for example, if you are actually not in full-time education as a child, 16 or 17 years, but not 15 years. 15 years is still getting child benefit. That's why they don't get universal credit. Because the universal credit is the same with child benefit, but it's different also, because the amount is also different. They pay children less money. Actually, child benefit is only £21 per week. A universal credit for one person is about £80 per week. That excludes housing costs. Yeah, exclude council tax costs also, because they also pay for council tax costs. But also, I talked about discretionary payment of grant, which is actually paid through from energy companies or water companies or other organizations who are providing help, maybe within the local authorities. Check with your local authorities. Specific help to do with the cost of living, something called household, I think, support fund. I'll actually probably release it. If you have specific interests, things like food bank in where you live. I don't know how you're going to do that on YouTube, because you're not going to give me your home address for security reason. It's unadvisable, because if you give me, anybody can see it, because you see YouTube is accessed by over 100 million people in the world every day. So if you leave your personal data on the commentary box, potentially 100 million people around the world will see it. That is a security risk. You can create a cyber security risk. So that can be a problem. So as much as we trust social media, we need to really be also exercise some precaution. So there are certain level of communication which can be limited by the very nature of the thing. So some of the criteria, also eligibility criteria, if you are under the state pension age, you can claim universal credit. And being under the state pension age, you can check this on the gov.uk, which is actually a website of the government, which you can actually check your age. If you are over 60 years old, you can check your state pension age, because it means you probably will be getting pension instead of universal credit. Because as I explained, there are some types of benefit, maybe sickness benefit or whatever, because they're just scattered all over the place. Like you spend a long time gathering all types of benefits. I mean, they're all over the place, so complicated, so scattered that when it comes to benefit, you have to be an expert to get help for yourself, or get help from a member of staff from the DWP, Department for Work and Pension. They're called advisors, or they may call themselves something else, like health assessors, whatever, advisors or something from the government advisors from the Department of Work and Pension. They advise people on benefit. They provide information on things like benefit or looking for work, because that's what I said. Benefit actually is consistent with the idea of income maximization, but also income generally, because income actually comes from benefit or employment in the first place, may come from investment, they are self-employment, because now they are trying to separate investment with they're distinguishing investment with um, investment with so now if you go into the marketplace, there are some people who are actually trying to distinguish between an entrepreneur or an investor. There is no difference at all. If you are self-employed, or you are self-employed, you are either employed or self-employed. The complication comes because the investors or entrepreneurs are actually regarded as rich, and self-employed are actually regarded as poor. They are less acknowledged, and they are actually being shut down. All these technicalities are actually bogus. They're useless. But they are just there to serve certain policies which are actually not even useful to most people. Because if you're the owner of a big corporation, you're probably an entrepreneur, which is nonsense. Because even if you own just this, you're only selling sweets, you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor. But the other point there, because you see, that's why I say if you do business, that doesn't mean you are rich. I say there are so many self-employed people, because there is employment and self-employment. Even if you are owning a bank, you're self-employed. Investors are actually self-employed. Because if you give your £1 billion to a professional to invest, that investor actually could be self-employed. If I set up a consultancy or an investment company to invest money for shareholders, my business may be entrepreneurial, which is actually is a business. I'm a business owner, which means I work for myself. It's self-employed. You see, I hope I'm really making sense, because sometimes you have to really try and simplify things for yourself other than listening to the so-called experts. Experts sometimes talk as if they are thieves, because thieves actually are there to conceal the matter. If the truth is to be told, they don't really tell you the truth, because they are corrupt, and they are actually, you could say, they are all stories, which is what I'm not really trying to talk about. Today is Christmas, so it's a day of giving in good faith. Actually, today is a day of peace. I don't know if they have actually done ceasefire in Gaza and Israel. I didn't watch the news that much today. I hope on Christmas Day they're not going to start shooting each other, which is really so rude if you're coming from a Christian area. Because Christmas means peace. So, I mean, even wicked people can rest today. The Bible says there's no peace for the wicked, but even the wicked people have the reprieve to reach today, to kind of like to take a break from stupidity, because the war success you see in Ukraine is a form of insanity. In Ukraine and wherever people fight, those things, they are clever, they are total idiots. Unfortunately, everybody is always fighting. It means anybody you see around you, even if they are not yet fighting, they are potential idiots. That is our culture not functioning. So we have to pay attention to our culture sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we are going to be, from now on, we will start facing a lot of problems. So I have already mentioned, if you've been watching this video, thank you for your support. Subscribe to this channel and support it. The best way to support the channel is to subscribe to it, and also click like and share with family and friends, so that the more the merrier. People actually engaging with this topic. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and that will be very helpful. Click the notification bell also. So I said at the beginning that you must also have less than 16,000 in savings or in investments So this is the kind of thing we talk about. Investment is like sowing a seed on the ground because it actually multiplies. That is investing money. So if you have the amount of 16,000, you're not going to get any means tested benefit. Universal credit is means tested. You have the means to livelihood. If you don't have the means to livelihood, then you get benefit. If you have a means, if the government thinks you have a means, which means if you have more than £16,000 in saving, the government will class you as somebody with the means to livelihood. So they don't give you benefit at all if the benefit is means tested. Some benefits are not means tested, like personal independence payment, which is a sickness benefit. Most sickness benefit, apart from universal credit, which also have some form of sickness benefit, sickness benefit within universal credit is means tested because it's actually universal credit. But things like personal independence payment, PIP, it's called PIP, PIP. These are actually for adults who are not children, are not pensioners also, of not pensionable age. It's similar to the test for universal credit. Yeah, because the sickness benefit for pension age pension age individuals and for children also. Children is called disability living allowance for children up to the age of also 15 and under certain circumstances 16 and 17 they get I think up to 15 years you get disability living allowance. As soon as you become 16, I think 16, you get you're moved into PIP, personal independence payment. And as soon as you hit maybe 60 years, 65, you are actually pensionable age. You're actually state pension age. Then you are given something called disability attendance allowance. They're the same benefit, but for different age categories. But the children are normal adults, and pensioners. So these are comparable to universal credit, but universal credit is means tested. Which means tested means if you have a certain amount of money that you are not given, you will be considered to be able to look after yourself without the help from the government. You have the means to look after yourself. But means to look after yourself test does not apply to sickness benefit like PIP and the rest of it. And also pension, state pension also is not means tested. And other category of, like, when you get food bank, it's not means tested. You can still have your benefit and get food bank or other help, which is actually to do with the cost of living crisis. Like, I think household support fund generally, which I really don't quite know what they are, because this all sorts of things are actually grouped under household support fund, which is, to me, it's almost nonsense. And most of them are discretionary payment, which is actually rubbish. I mean, if the government is helping, it should really make it mandatory, statutorily binding, so that you actually are guaranteed to get it. So some of the criteria for getting universal credit is if you live with a partner like wife or husband, or their income and capital will be taken into account. If you have a wife or a husband and they have money and also an adult living with you, or even children if they have money, some children might have money. Some children, if you're lucky enough, you have a child who is a millionaire because maybe they do commercials or maybe if they want lottery. I don't know if children play lottery. They probably don't, but I think they can have YouTube channel. If their YouTube channel goes viral, then lucky children, they might get some money, maybe 40,000, 50,000. That is enough to prevent you from getting benefit in the UK. So if you have people like that, even people living with you, if they are not your partner, you allow them to live with you they will affect your means tested benefit. Now, so there's something called tax credit, which is something paid by, is money paid to you because you work and you are probably low income. There's a way of testing them. So tax credit, and you have had a letter from the DW telling you to move to universal credit by a certain date. So yeah, so the tax credit also is actually, because you see, the thing about tax credit is that it is a legacy benefit, which means they already are discontinued. You can't claim, have a fresh claim for tax credit, working tax credit. Tax credit is actually composed of working tax credit and child tax credit. They're paid. They're paid by the Department of Work and Pension, but they are actually, I think, they are assessed by the tax office, as the names suggest. It's people who work for living, but they meet certain criteria. With tax credit, I will also talk about going forward. If you're interested to know something about tax credit, leave a comment below. Then I will look for information and then share it on the commentary link. Now, if you are on a legacy benefit, the DWP may give you a date, because people are now being moved from legacy benefit to universal credit. In my opinion, this is actually going to make their life, it's going to make them worse off anyway. Because when the government does reform, don't think it is improving in your favor. It is improving in favor of the rich. Because you see, benefit, if given to poor people, the money is taken from rich people. The only people who have money are actually rich people. So if you get a government like the Conservative Party or New Labour, they are rich themselves. So, and because politics is coming to an end, politics was intended to create wealth and power and to provide rule. Now, you don't need politics anymore because technology is taking over running of the world. Those who own technology can now rule over the world with impunity, openly. Politics is actually to cover up the nastiness of rule. It doesn't matter if it happens in the UK. So rule is about slavery. I mean, there's nothing glamorous about rule. I mean, don't be fooled. Politics is there to make you happy to be ruled over by nasty people. People who are more nasty than you, because slaves are also nasty people. It's a human nature. I'm not being pessimistic about humans, because you see, the thing about humanity is that if they do something wrong, then they are very dangerous. If they do something good, then they are adorable. Simple as that. That's why I invite people to revise their behavior, the way they think, so that we begin to acknowledge our culture, which is the culture of humans, the thing we set us apart from wild animals. We are supposed to be civil. But if you see the way we behave now, people are running to pets. They're even trying to make snakes their best friends, because humans are horrible. Now, people, I mean, if you see somebody running away from something from on the street, that something is actually a human being, which used not to be referred to as a thing, a person. It's not a thing, but you know, if things are better than people, then we are in serious trouble. Because you find young people behaving on the street, all sorts of behavior, which is actually horrible. And they think if they're doing something wrong, that is okay. I mean, what kind of society are we who do not understand the meaning between the difference between wrong and right? everything is wrong, right, if you want to do it. Nobody should stop you from doing it. This is what we have in the United Kingdom. This is what we increasingly indiscipline, misbehavior. Whether you are King Charles or a normal person like people you find on the street, we're the same. So we need to stop and take a step back. I don't know what took us away from our culture into the culture worse than the culture of animals. You see the people fighting in the Middle East, in Israel. I mean, I see it on television every day. Children are being killed. I mean, which type of person would kill a child? Animals don't kill their children unless they are lions who are actually on drugs in wildlife. Some male lions actually eat up the puppies of offspring of other male lions. If the puppies are not theirs, they can eat it. I don't know. Go and ask the lion why they behave like that. So now we humans are actually killing our own children. Now, what kind of a parent is that? What kind of child can kill their parents? Which kind of a brother or sister will kill each other? Or even you meet a person on the street, you start a quarrel, an argument, you pull a knife and stop them. That is happening now. If you are on the street, don't start an argument with people because you don't know who they are. They may be carrying a gun. They just pull the gun and shoot you. I mean, you have to be insane to behave like that without any care. We have been watching too many violent movies, and these movies are actually multi-billion and multi-trillion industry. Why do we manufacture death in the name of entertainment? We are entertaining our children with cartoons, with games, which is actually the only thing we do anything. We make atomic bombs because of money. We create dangerous weapons because of money. These weapons are not created to kill wild animals. They have one purpose: kill human beings. We are not even, the way I understand it, we are weaponizing nature. We are creating viruses. It's weapon of mass destruction. We are doing that. Biological weapons, nuclear weapons. Instead of making things for peaceful purpose, we are making things for war. We are set to destroy our lives. And when we are talking about the cost of living crisis, it's a form of war. Cost of living is created by the state. And it's evidence of violence where the state has weaponized wealth to kill and destroy the British people. And you may not believe what I'm saying, but there is no reason why somebody should be, okay, I am suspicious. I don't have any evidence. That is fair. But if you use logic, you see the cost of living crisis. Why is there the cost of living crisis? Because of poverty. Why is there poverty in the United Kingdom? Because the government is crazy. The government is insane. The government is violent. The ministers are actually monsters. Because if they were civil, there would be no poverty. If you're an MP, if you're a minister in the United Kingdom, you should be ashamed of yourself. But not because you are an MP, because you're a human being. Humans should have shame. Because whether they are in parliament, in government, they are extremely shameful. Whether they are on the street, begging on the street and being poor. Poor people are not good people. They are just powerless to exercise their monstrosity. And that's a very bad commentary on humanity. I have the right to say this. You have the right to say this because that is the truth. It is true because we have failed culturally. That is enough for us to stop and think. Doesn't matter how clever you think you are. It doesn't matter how saintly. Because you see, we live in an age of delusion. We think we are saints. If you ask anybody on the street, do you think you're a good person? They say, yeah. They don't even think we are not good people. Because if we were good, we wouldn't refer to our fellow humans as strangers. Evidence. You don't speak to people freely on the street, and rightly so, because if you start being nice to people on the street of London, you can be killed within, or you can be robbed, or even anything you don't want happening to you in a peaceful way will happen most likely. If you start treating people as your best friends on the street, even if you are at work, people who you work with are not your friends, they are your colleagues. That is the language we use. They are not your family, they're your colleagues. That's why your employer can fire you at any time. They are heartless. They pretend to be nice to you. I mean, how can somebody who pretend that we are family and they fire you? You don't fire your child from home, but you fire an employee. You don't even pay them. You don't. Sometimes you exploit them. You abuse them in some way. You look at them as if they are not human. They are just workers. Their purpose is to create wealth for you if you're a private company. And if you are not, then if you are an employer, your employees are there to solve your problem. The problem, if employees solve problem for you, then you don't have to solve the problem. That's why supervisors and managers, they work, but they only do the work they choose to do. Things like filling out forms, writing letters, posting letters. If you work as an admin, that's what they kind of answering for. Complicated things are given to you, which is nice. It's good. I mean, say it's work. It's not. People need to understand work. But you see, if you look at it from the point of view of culture, you see, the system is really violent. The system of employment is very violent. And people who go to work, they go for work for the money. But if you go and tell your employer at an interview, why do you want to work for us? Because the pay is good. If you say that, I can guarantee you're not going to get a job. I mean, this skill is actually known as employability. You need to know how to fill out a form. Even if they think, you see, the weird thing, even if they think you can do the job, they still don't give you work because you didn't fill out the form correctly. You didn't perform well at the interview. How insane is that? Yeah, I mean, it's not just in one place. The work culture is not the same. It's not just in one place. It's everywhere in the UK, across the globe. Which means industry is actually a war theater. It's not a peaceful estate. Because here once people will behave more. I mean, if you come to an employer, you say, I can't feed my children. Please help me. Give me a job. And the employer, okay, come and I will give you a job tomorrow so that you can get some money to take your children to school. You would say this is civil. But you see, the savagery of work is that if you go to an employer and tell them, please give me a job because I'm so poor, I can't even afford to buy food. I'm being evicted from my home. You go to an employer and say that, they will think you are insane. They will probably call security to kick you out of the office because they're not responsible. And why on the house is the UK government handing over public sector to private companies to give you welfare? Because they don't give welfare. They don't know how to give. That is not their culture. Their culture is actually, you come here to work and make money for my business. I want to make profit. If you don't make profit from me, you're going to be fired without pay. Because you see, if you cause me to lose wealth, my wealth, I'm going to deduct it from your salary. Sometimes the employer can deduct all your money because you created a loss for some reason or another. You sign it on the contract, employment contract. That if I incur losses, I will pay for it. You may not even see the contract because employees who want a job don't even read their contract. They just want the job. I don't know. They probably trust the system. Yes, they trust the system correctly because these people are actually trained. Once they recruited you, you go you go through induction and training, and then you are supervised. You do the work effectively. You provide compliance. You write reports. You learn and really apply what you've learned. In terms of professionalism means you provide compliance. You write report, and if your report is satisfactory, then your task is recommended, and your job is passed. The task you have carried out is passed, and then that build relationship based on professional performance, and that performance actually increasingly causes your boss to trust you. To build that trust and confidence. And that's how the system works. And a good way of system is scientific. It's good because it produces technocrats, otherwise known as professionals, which is a good idea. But when it comes to welfare, it's a totally different concept. It has nothing to do with commerce. And in the United Kingdom, sending the British people to private companies or to even industrial leaders to provide welfare. I mean, welfare is an act of kindness. The government is playing kind, which is actually also wrong because the government is not created to support the concept of kindness, of compassion. The government is not supposed to be compassionate, and it is not, because the government is there, including the industry. Economic system is part of the government system of government. Is there to rule, and rule is actually involving force and violence. Rule has never been consistent with the idea of consent. Consent involves peace and care. You care for somebody, you want to live with them peacefully, which is the opposite. Politics is there like a sweetening pill, because you see, rule is a very nasty infrastructure. It's a very nasty agent, which need to be sweetened. You need to put something sweet to make it taste nice, something which is as bitter as death. The rule, that's what rule is. The rule is a whole story. But politics is there to window dress rule and also the toxicity associated with rule, which is what you find when you look at what the government says, how complicated a system of health is. And this is why I really talk about it. I mean, leave a comment below and let me know. If you don't want to leave a comment or you don't have the time, that is okay. One way or the other, we will meet again. And then hopefully you'll be in the mood to leave a comment or also to participate. Then we will carry on. I mean, if you are only one or two of you, be my guest. I respect everybody who leave a comment. Because, whether you are a million or just one, you are actually valued in equal measure. Although I believe in the principle of the more, the merrier, which is what I'm looking forward to. So I'm trying to go through this material about universal credit, which is actually tax benefit, which is great, and we all welcome this because it's in terms of the environmental necessity. It's actually help. It helps. But what I'm trying to say over and over, if you can speak to your member of parliament or write a letter to your minister, if your MP is a minister, it's even better. You can write a letter to them You can watch this video or go online. Just try to understand. Try and go to an organization like a public website of citizen advice or government website or local authority website. Any of those, you will find information there. Try to read them to understand, because there are so many. It's a lot of work. It's like you're going to school or going to work or doing something, but it shows how complicated these things are. So there are actually whether you'll be able to get universal credit depends on your situation. So we'll talk about capital limit, which is actually £16,000. If you have £16,000, then you are not going to get benefit because they're means tested. This is something I've been talking about. It's £16,000. So you normally somebody looking for benefits only get universal credit if their capital is 16,000 or less, either alone or combined with their partner's capital. They can only get universal credit if with over 16,000 capital if they are moving from tax credits under managed migration. So they can only get universal credit with over 16,000. If you get more than 16,000, because see, tax credit is a form of payment which affects the eligibility criteria for universal credit. So if you're moving from tax credit under managed migration means you're moving from the legacy benefit to universal credit. An example of legacy benefit is actually tax credit. It is now called either they're called elements of the universal credit. Either working tax is now called working elements, and child tax credit is called child elements. These are now universal credit. If you are making a new claim, you no longer claim legacy benefit. But those legacy benefit after some time will be moved by force to the universal credit. And I already said, every time the government imposes its will on you, they are trying to steal something from you. In this case, they're trying to steal your benefit without you knowing, because they say, oh, this is better. It's not better, it's worse. Universal credit is the whole story of the benefit, coming with some really awkward conditions which we can do without. So capital doesn't usually include any payments that are regular, periodical, or part of a series. This might count as income. So things like cash, money in the bank, building society account, one-off payments such as redundancy payments or loans. Investments are things like bonds, shares, and unit trusts, personal injury compensation, unless it is in a trust or your client, or maybe you are actually has had it or for less than 12 months. These are some of the information you can get on the government website. So land and property might also not be counted as capital if someone moves out after their relationship ends, or if they are if your close relative or partner or former partner lives there. So there is something called CPAG, welfare benefit and tax credit handbook. You can look at things like that. There are such information out there. I'm just going through so that to guide my explaining, because I know most of these things. So I'm just trying to go. So there are things like personal possessions. Capital that isn't counted is called disregarded capital for universal credit purposes, because see, they are means tested. So you can get universal credit if you have disregarded type of capital, which actually include personal possessions like your clothing, your vehicle if you're using it for personal use, things like that, personal possession, personal pension, business assets, and things like that. Personal pensions, business asset, life assurance policy. These are some of the things it's good to know about this thing. Money from the London Emergencies Trust, or we love Manchester Emergency Fund, payment from the Windrush Compensation Scheme, payment from any scheme providing compensation. These are charities, but to get money from charities, not always, but sometimes, there are certain specific charities mentioned. I mean, that's why I say the system is not straightforward. It's complex, and normally it works or it doesn't work very well. Nobody make if something is complicated, probably you can do without one thing or another. So payment of any scheme providing compensation for historical institutional child abuse in the UK, money from the Energy Bill Support Scheme. After talked about Energy Bill Support Scheme, which is what the government is now providing. These are means tested. That's what they talk about. They are not means tested. They don't affect your means tested benefit, which universal credit is. So money from the Energy Bill Support Scheme, where you own something jointly, such as a house, the DW will assume it is an equal split unless unless you can prove otherwise. This is complex. You can get specialist help from expert advice team. There's somebody called expert advice team. These are actually experts on benefit. And normally, you are referred to them by advisors and some professional people who might not be expert. So, or you can also read about capital disregards in the DWP's internal guidance. Internal guidance are actually for DWP staff, member of staff who are advisors. So you can talk to them, and then if you raise some complicated element of information request or requirement, then they can actually look for this if they need to. Their handbooks to provide guidance. So universal credit is subject to advice, which is needed, it's complex, and there are people who are called decision makers. They are also supposed to be trained. They have to have certain expertise. Decision makers, people who make decisions on benefit, they decide whether you are entitled to benefit or not. So they are called decision makers. They tend to use certain materials. So if it is clear whether money counts as capital, you can get specialist help from the expert advice team. If it isn't clear, if it is not clear, then like I said, because these are areas of complex information. So if you have savings of over 6,000, if you have £6,000, you can get less benefit, but you will get benefit. So if you have 6,000, £6,000 or less, you will get the full amount of benefit. So you will get less universal credit if you have saving of over £6,000. But if you have £6,000 or less, you get the full benefit. So the money, if it is under 6,000, between 6,000 and 16,000, you get some benefit, but it increases or reduces depending on the level of your savings or investment. So the job center will assume that you get monthly income of £4.35 pence from every £250 you have over 6,000. It doesn't matter if you actually get this amount. This is actually some formula. This is called tariff income. So if you have this, probably is a saving, it's money you have kept aside, there's a presumption that you get for every 250, DWP will deduct 435. I think that's how it works. So, because you get income, which is £4.35 from every 250, you have over 600. If you have 600,000 and 2,200, you have 6,250 pounds. The DW will deduct 435. So, if you have, for example, 500, which is actually 250 times 2, then you multiply 2.35 times 2, which is about £7 for every 500 pounds, about £7 deducted from your benefit. That's the formula. So his tariff is actually, I don't know, maybe tariff income is added to your client, to your other income when working out how much universal credit you could get. There are actually regulations which you can study and which are talking about your savings and other form of information. So sometimes people with savings try to get clever and spend their capital so that they can get benefit, or they can give it away to maybe children, or they can do something with it so that they can get benefit. If you do that and the DWP learns about it, they're going to refuse. They could refuse to give you benefit. So so the advice is that you should not try to get rid of your capital to become eligible for universal credit. This is called deprivation of capital. So if you do this, the DWP will treat you as if you still have the money. But if you kind of like, for some reason, your money is there, but you spent it in a way you cannot really convincingly explain why you spend it, then the DWP can describe that as deprivation. You deprive yourself deliberately of capital. You should have had that money to help you, but you deprive yourself deliberately. That concept is also similar to when you are evicted because of you did something wrong. You are maybe antisocial behavior from your home, and or maybe you also, because you are misbehaving, you did something wrong, like not paying rent, or maybe damaging the property, or doing something to the property, and then you are evicted, maybe from private landlord or even the council housing. If any of those things happen, you go to the council to get housing, you are going to be accused of making yourself intentionally homeless. If you're intentionally homeless, you're not going to. They can take that into account when they're making decisions. Most likely, which is not in your favor. So, in the same with employment, if actually you are, if you're dismissed from work because of this indiscipline, or because it is your fault, you did something wrong at work and you lost your job because of that, the DWP may refuse to give you benefit. And also in the hospital, if increasingly now, if you go to the hospital and the medical people think it is because of your lifestyle that you're sick, maybe you're on drugs, you drink too much, you don't eat healthy food, you don't do exercise, things like that, you're intentionally making yourself sick, so you pay for your health care. So this actually is evidence of the government hostility on people, because people who need help are actually destitute. If you talk to people like that and you're supposed to give them help and you are a government, you should be ashamed of yourself, because people, the government don't behave well. they judge other people as if they are behaving well. You are already behaving badly by privatizing the economy, by allowing shutting down the system because of ideological lunacy. You're selling off the country because you are a barbarian. You're not a really proper government. It doesn't matter if you are a UK government. You don't deserve really credit for being a barbarian. You behave like some aliens from outer space. Maybe they are probably clever than us. And you're not behaving like that because of the government. It's because you're human. And you need to learn your culture. You have to have discipline. You have to behave properly if you're a government as a person. Because a government is representative of a person. People should learn culture and have respect. Because you see, it is respectful for the government to accuse a poor person of having done something wrong. As if the government is perfect, and no one is perfect. So you don't prevent people from accessing food, medicine, employment because you think they are. I mean, are they slaves? I mean, are you going to? Who do you think you are? See, what makes you think you own this country? Because you're a government, you tell people what to do. You even tell us it's taxpayers' money. That is us. I mean, you treat the British people as if they are beggars. Because your country, you're doing them a favor by giving them this is taxpayers' money. I thought so. So whether they're behaving well, I mean, rich people actually misbehave and they are not deprived of food and energy. See, why should poor people be deprived? Because you see, the reason people are going to get benefit because not like they want to get benefit. If you go to get it, it's degrading. If you go to work for a living, it's really degrading because you're working like a slave. You should have dignity about your work. You work in your home, on your land. You grow your own food. You build your own house. You build your own car. You build on your airplane, your drone, your helicopter. That's dignity because that's what the rich people get. Because they own their homes. They don't rent from landlords. They have dignity. Why are you treating us like slaves? And is it because you are masters? So you say these kind of things in writing. You abuse us. You abuse the British people. And you, government, should be ashamed of yourself. Now, going back to this specific information about universal credit, conditions of benefit. So, if you reduce you will not be considered as depriving yourself of capital if you pay off or reduce a debt in your name. The debt should be in your name so that you are liable. You have to prove that you have liability. You're liable to pay a debt. Because the debt is in your name, so you're liable for the debt. And you use the capital you have to pay a legitimate debt. Then you are not regarded as depriving yourself of capital. Because if you are found to be depriving yourself, you might not get benefit. That's what they are talking about. So, if you pay for goods or services which are actually considered to be reasonable, now it is only God who knows what reasonable is. I don't. The government may or may not know because these are problem areas. Because what is reasonable is decided by the government. If I think it is reasonable, they think it is not reasonable. They're not going to pay me benefit. And benefit is actually taxpayers' money. I'm a taxpayer, so I should get it. I should even claim benefit. All I have to do is make a phone call to an advisor. I lost my job. I'm sick. Because they say if you lose your job, if you're sick, they're going to give you benefit. I have a baby. I want child benefit. Okay. That should be enough. You don't have to provide evidence that you have a kid. You should not be given to write a a report, to write a full book in order to get benefit in the application form sent to get benefit is a horror story actually. It's like visiting a witch doctor who will ask you all sort of awkward questions. I mean, so that's the situation. So if something is supposed to be reasonable, it shouldn't be luxury. Luxury is not automatically considered unreasonable, but it's most likely to be considered to be unreasonable items. Because if you you see, they don't have a definition of reasonable. That's what I was talking about. They don't have a definitive list of goods and services which the DPW considered to be reasonable, because it's a day-to-day items are more likely to be considered reasonable than luxury items. Like food, if you bought food, if you paid for transport, if you maybe bought medication or bought school uniforms, or maybe bought a car for work or something, or to take your children to school, you have to decide, but you take a risk of being deprived of accessing help, because the government will have accused you of depriving yourself of capitalism. Basically, they're saying you are corrupt. They're saying you're a thief. You want to cheat on benefit. That's probably what that. In fact, that is what they're talking about. So there are actually rules of deprivation of capital, which is a concept within the DWP, deprivation in something called the Benefit and Tax Credit Handbook. You can find out that, and so if you're deliberately getting rid of capital, then you get into trouble with them. So tax credit with over 16,000 capital is also subjected to some scrutiny. The DWP disregard capital over 6,000 for up to a year if you claim universal credit under managed migration. So managed migration, I already said, if you're receiving legacy benefit like tax credit, which is actually over 16,000. If you're getting tax credit, which over and above 16,000 pounds is tax credit, which is actually you're being moved from tax credit. They can pay you benefit for universal credit for 1 year, even if you have more money than 16,000, because you are receiving tax credit. Because these are legacy benefit which is now being shut down. They are being, if you are in the process of being migrated, which means you are still getting legacy benefit like tax credit. You can get universal credit for 1 year. Then after 1 year, I don't know what they're going to do. What they should have done, because they decide, you can actually self-migrate. You can ask the DWP to change you from legacy benefit to universal credit. Because universal credit is now the only credit. The only type of benefit for mainstream system. So you need to get to know one thing or another. So you can so if you are transitionally, so you experience something called transitional protection. If it is ending early, if I mean your tradition, your transitional protection will end early if your capital falls below 16. So you don't need protection in that sense. If your capital falls below 16, or if you switch from a joint claim to a single claim, or from a single to a joint claim. These are some of the conditions, some of the rules regarding universal credit, claiming universal credit. So, if your partner's earnings were above the administrative earnings threshold in your first assessment period, and if so, then if it falls below three, if you know, if it falls below a certain threshold, then if it falls below a certain threshold for 3 months, consecutive months, then the condition applies. So the administrative earnings threshold is £677 for a single claimant and 1,083 for a couple. So these details, if someone is self-employed, then they are treated as having earnings above the threshold if they are subject to the minimum income flow, including if they are in a startup period. So if the minimum income flow applies, then that is something you can consider. So if you are actually, so about transitional protection, which is actually transitioning from legacy benefit to universal credit. So it is protected when you are in a certain situation. If it ends and you want it to start again, normally it doesn't start again. It won't restart normally under normal circumstances, even if your circumstances go back to what they were. Transitional protection might restart if your claim ended because your income was too high. Like I said, if your income goes up, your universal credit, your claim for universal credit will end, or it will be reduced. In this case, if it ends because your income level is too high, then the protection might restart again. May restart if your claim ended because your income was too high. If your income falls below low enough to qualify for universal credit within 3 months, then you can get a transitional protection again. Transitional protection is actually, it means the level of your income, even if it is over 16,000, will be protected when you're being moved from one benefit to another. So if you're already claiming benefit or tax credit, then your universal credit is gradually going to be replacing housing benefit, income related employment support allowance, ESA, income based job seekers allowance, JSA, tax credit, working tax credit, income support, and normally you stay on one of these benefits unless something about your situation has changed. Not every change means you need to claim universal credit. And for example, if you had a letter from the DWP telling you to move to universal credit by a certain date, this is called migration notice. Some of the information, if you have had a letter, you only have to move to universal credit if it is an official migration notice. Find out more about moving to universal credit from other benefits. There is information available if you are appealing a benefit decision, something called mandatory reconsideration or appeal to the tribunal. If that is happening, if you are actually making an appeal against the DWP decision, then and also if you had a migration notice, you should claim by the deadline on the notice. The deadline, if you haven't had a migration notice, might be worth waiting for a decision on your appeal or mandatory consideration before claiming universal credit. If you make a claim for universal credit, you might not be able to go back to your other benefit even if your appeal succeeds. So you might lose your legacy status for benefit, which actually is considered more beneficial to client. Legacy benefit, which is the old type of benefit, is considered more beneficial to, because you lose out every time you go to a benefit involving reform. So you can challenge the decision before managed migration. If you choose to do that, and if you have time, before your migration deadline, you should challenge the decision before claiming universal credit. That's his advice. So if you request this consideration, which is actually asking the DWP to look at that decision again on your benefit claim, so appealing before claiming universal credit, the decision can be backdated, which means you backpaid money. You backpaid money owed to by the DWP. So if you are awarded more legacy benefit because of the challenge, you might get more universal credit when you move to universal credit. If you are actually severely disabled, you're getting severe disability premium, which is a type of benefit for sick people. The sickness benefit, I think, is also legacy, SDP, and migration from, and you are involved in migration from legacy benefit. And then you can claim universal credit under these circumstances, even if you were getting or recently stopped getting a benefit with a severe disability premium, SDP. If you has heard a migration notice, you must claim by your final deadline for managed migration. You can always check this information and to see how managed migration affects how it affects you. If you hasn't heard a migration notice, then you should apply for universal credit within a month after you stop getting the benefit with the SDP. This means you might get an extra amount in your universal credit, which is called a transitional element. You can actually check if you are eligible for SDP transitional element. So if you are actually in a full-time education or in training, you need to check your rights to benefit. And if you are 16 years or 17 years old, you need to actually look at the things you need to do. If you live outside the UK, these are factors affecting benefit. You can apply for universal credit also. If you want to apply, you actually look at how to apply. If you're eligible for universal credit, you will usually have to apply online, like I said, unless there are circumstances which is acceptably applicable. You can find out how to get started with your universal credit application. So this information you can get on the government website. So you can always get all sorts of help how to deal with all these things. And if you're not sure if you can get universal credit, you can talk to an advisor. So thank you for watching this video. I will be carrying on going through in more detail in the coming videos to look at more specific. This is looking generally the kind of information which is available. I will be going into more detail. If you want one thing or another on this channel, then let me know. And thank you for watching. And subscribe to this channel, support it, leave a comment below, and share with family and friends. Click like, click the notification bell. Thank you. Bye bye. See you in the next one. Merry Christmas once more, and Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.